So today I'm going to talk about why Busan is better than Seoul. Let me just start off by telling you why I went to Busan instead of Seoul. So if you watched my last video, you would know that I didn't want to go to Korea. I wanted to go to Japan because I had just gotten to Japanese stuff, and then I wanted to go to Japan, but I went to Korea instead. And why did I go to the second largest city instead of the largest city? Let me tell you. Okay, so at the time, there had been a lot of talk about North Korea and their missile launches and them doing tests and stuff, and I feel like that problem, it's always been a problem, but it kind of arose more when I was wanting to go study abroad. So that raised some concerns for my parents. My parents didn't want me to go to Korea because I would be so close to North Korea. Like, if I was in Seoul, I would have been around like 20 miles away from the border between North Korea and South Korea. Spoiler alert, I did end up going to North Korea. I went to the DMZ, and I literally have pictures. I'll put them at the end of the video because I still don't know how to put pictures on the screen right here. I'll put those pictures at the end of the video. They literally say North Korea in the location bar at the top, so that's pretty cool. But anyways, my parents didn't want me to get blown up. They were like, if there happens to be a missile that's launched in North Korea, or like the US for some reason wants to launch a missile to North Korea, then I wouldn't get blown up, because let's be real, if the US sent a missile to North Korea, it would destroy most of South Korea, which would be Seoul. But Busan is on the complete opposite end of the country. So although Korea is not that big, a good comparison, if you live in Texas, you'll know that the drive from Austin to Dallas is around 3 hours. 3 hours in like 15 minutes to be exact most of the time. I'm originally from Austin, Georgetown-ish, so I can drive 3.5 hours from Austin to Dallas, and you can ride a bullet train in Korea from Seoul to Busan in 3 hours. So they're not that far from each other, although the bullet train does go much faster than a car, obviously. I think if you drove, it'd be around 6 or 7 hours. But anyways, Korea's not that big, but there's just really, really small towns in between South Korea and Busan. South Korea, okay, there's just really small like villages and towns and stuff between South Korea. I literally just did it again. Between Seoul and Busan, okay? So, basically, my parents didn't want me to go there because they thought it was dangerous, and other than the whole North Korea thing, South Korea is a very safe country. There's a very, very low criminal rate there, so I knew that I would be safe going there, even being a foreigner looking completely different. That's not a big problem in Korea, so don't be afraid of that. That was one of the main reasons that I went to Busan, was just because my parents were scared about Seoul, and I was kind of upset at first because first I wanted to go to Japan, then I was like, let me go to Seoul, and then they were like, no, you can't go to Seoul, that's too dangerous. But also, Busan was $2,000 cheaper, so I ended up going to Busan, and it was not a mistake. It was such a great time, and even though it's a smaller city, it's still so big. It's crazy. I live in Dallas, right? I was talking with a friend, and they were like, Dallas is just so busy, it's so big, and I was like, I feel like Dallas is so small. Like, if you have ever been to Korea or seen pictures of Korea, there's nothing that can explain how big it is. Like, Dallas, if I drive like 10 minutes outside of the middle of it, I can see like Dallas. I can see all of the buildings that are a part of Dallas, like the center of Dallas. But of course, my address is still in Dallas, but I live on the outskirts of it, and that's still considered Dallas. But when we think of Dallas, we think of that inner city, those really tall buildings, and it's just so small compared to what you will see in Busan. I remember The first time I got in a taxi, it was right after we got off of the bullet train. I was heading to my dorm. It was so beautiful. I felt like I was in a movie. Like, I'm not even kidding. Busan is made of, sorry my accent is like horrible. I keep saying Busan like a literal American, but I should be like, Busan is so gorgeous. There's mountains everywhere, but also buildings in between all of it. And I feel like that's something I love so much, because I love city and I love development, but I also don't like how it's ruining what we previously had on this earth. So anyways, Busan has the best of both worlds. You get the best! It's huge buildings, huge city, so many people, but we still have like that beautiful nature part to Busan. Like Seoul, you won't be able to see, you'll be able to see mountains on like the far, like staring off into like miles and miles away, but Busan, like I was living on a mountain. Literally a mountain. There was this trail behind my dorm and it was so gorgeous, and I could go to like the top of the mountain. I was already like halfway there because of where my dorm was located, but don't get me started on that because oh my god, that was like, okay, if you go to PNU, if anybody's watching this that wants to go to PNU, get your own apartment, because living on that hill was like the worst part of my day, every single day. And if I had to go up and down multiple times a day, it made it even worse. So anyways, Busan is just like great though, and there are mountains and city and people and everything. But I can be biased because I studied there for 4 months and I was only able to visit Seoul for 2 times, and visit Seoul 2 times for only like a week at a time maybe. So another thing about Busan in general, there are not a lot of foreigners. I was 1 out of 4 Americans at my university. And it was a national university, Busan National University. So there was only 4 Americans and I was one of them. And the rest of the exchange students were from Singapore, China mainly, and from Vietnam and Japan. And there, of course, there were from Germany and London and stuff like that, but only 4 Americans. So my roommate, her name was Neetha, she was from Minnesota. And then there was a girl named Megan from New Jersey and a girl named Natalie from Connecticut. So that was a fun mix of just like people from all around America, I guess you could say, or the States. I wanted to do a video of like what foreigners think about Americans/Texans and just share like what I experienced in Korea about that, because I met people from all over and I just want to like share what they had to say about Americans and Texans, and it's pretty funny, but I'll save that for another video. Kitty, what are you doing? I kind of got off track. Okay, so I was 1 of 4 Americans at my university, and I honestly don't think we ran into any other Americans when we were in Korea. I'm sure if you were in Seoul, you probably would have. You see a lot of foreign faces there. There's a lot of foreigners. In Busan, there are not a lot of Americans. So something about Busan people, especially the older generation, they don't see us often. So when I would travel around with my friends, we would get a lot of stares. A lot. Because the majority of foreigners there are from China or Singapore. So majority Asian, so they don't see a lot of pale skin and blonde hair or red hair. And I actually, in Seoul, one of the first few days I was there, I was on the subway and this old like Harmony, Harmony's grandmother, this old grandmother just like started touching my hair. And I was like, whoa, what's happening? So she just started touching my hair and she was like, she just said 예쁘다, 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 and that just means like pretty. And that was one of the only words, like I knew that word at that time because I studied Korean before I went to Korea, but I wanted to ask her, like, I just wanted to ask her so many things, like, oh, do you like it? And she wanted to ask me questions too, but my Korean level was so bad at the very beginning, so I couldn't communicate with her, but I know that she was saying, 예쁘다, pretty, so I just said, 감사합니다, and I just said thank you, and that was fun. So, but that's not the only thing. One, like, especially if you dress up and if you look really nice one day, like, I remember I went out to a flower festival, and, I wore a cute flower flowy dress, and I curled my hair, and I put on some makeup, and I went on the subway, and I was getting stared at from everybody. It was insane. Like, it's kind of something that you get used to because it just happened every single day for me, so it was like, it's fine. But I just know that the majority of them are staring because they don't get to see it often, and like foreigners in Busan is a really new thing. So Sangmin, my boyfriend, his mother does the same thing. He told me that if his mother's on a subway and she sees a foreigner, she'll stare. So he will always tell her, like Mom, stop staring. But she stares out of appreciation for just people that want to travel here, and she just hasn't been able to see them in person often. So it's just kind of a cool experience to like just be some of the first few foreigners that want to come to Busan. So, and I'm sure Busan is going to become more of like a travel destination. The company that I studied abroad with was ISA, and that was the first year that they started bringing people to Busan to study. Originally, that company had brought college students to Seoul only, but decided that year to extend it to Busan as well. So I was able to be a part of the first year that they attended Busan. Which was pretty cool, and I loved my experience there. We are next to a beach, so there's this really pretty bridge, and they do fireworks sometimes on the bridge, and it's such a beautiful sight, and I don't know, there's so many good things about it. Like I said, I was one of the few Americans there, just like in the country in general, so when we would see other foreigners on the streets, like sometimes they would be shocked and stuff, but I mean, it didn't shock me that much. I mean, I know that I'm in a foreign country, and if I see a foreigner, it's like, oh hey, like what's up? Like, it's cool that we both decided to travel here at the same time. But like one time I was with a few of the 3 American friends that I had there, and we were walking around and we were like shopping at this phone case place on the street, and this lady, I don't know where she was from, she was like, oh my god, foreigners, wow, I can't believe it, it's so good to see you here. And I was like, what? Like, it was just so strange. Like, she'd like never seen a foreigner in Korea before or something. Like, she thought she was the only one. But like, that's how crazy it is. Sometimes you will go like days with like only seeing Korea. It just gets so natural. So I think she just like she got super excited. What? I wish that I could talk more about Seoul, but I really don't know that much about Seoul. I just know that when I went to Seoul at the very end of my travel of Busan, packed all my bags, and I went to Seoul to ride, to get on a plane. But I know that there's this popular area called Itaewon, and I went there the night before I left with my boyfriend, and we just went out, we ate a meal, went to a few places, but there was a lot more foreigners. Okay, so my English, by the way, I'll probably do another video on this later. If you go to Korea, or if you go to any country that is not majorly English-speaking country, your English will get messed up. I will guarantee it. All 4 of us were like messing up on our English all the time for no reason, and I think it's just because I don't know, I'll go over that in another video. Anyways, there were a lot of foreigners there. It was fun. It was fun. It was a lot more crowded though. It was just a regular night. Nothing special was going on, but the streets, like, you could barely walk. You had to be shoulder to shoulder to like everybody. So that's something about Seoul. Okay, I've heard that Seoul smells worse than Busan, But if you walk, okay, literally, I forgot about this. Oh my god. Okay, so if you literally walk down the streets, like this was in my school area, I would walk down the streets and like there would be these sewer things, and if you pass that with like a 20-foot radius, like it smells so bad. Every day, like all the time. You just pass it and you like have to hold your breath and then like wait for the next one to come and then hold it again. So like that's something that was kind of surprising. Like it smells bad. Not all of it, but there are certain sections that are gonna smell pretty bad. And then I've heard that Seoul is worse than Busan. So anyways, that's a fun fact. I totally forgot about that. It's just so fun. It's like I miss Korea so much recently. And it's been almost like 5 months since I've been back. And my boyfriend's coming in like almost less than 2 months, so that's exciting. And I'll be able to do videos with him about Korea and about America and blah blah blah. So about long distance relationships, I can maybe share some information with y'all that you might not know. And yeah, I think that's it. I mean, I don't really know. This video isn't supposed to be like, Busan is better than Seoul, but I just want to tell you that there are good things about Busan, and just a lot of people don't choose to travel there because it's not as infamous as Seoul. But I promise that if you do go to Busan, there are so many things to do. It's not like, well, Busan is a smaller city, like there's going to be nothing to do. There is a ton of things to do. So don't be scared about that. And if you ever want to travel there, and if you have any questions, I can give you a bunch of recommendations on restaurants and places. So yeah, I would just encourage people going to Busan more. It's a smaller city, but it's really not that small compared to almost anywhere in America other than New York, I'd say. So, and there has been a comparison. Like before I went to Korea and I was like figuring out if I was going to Seoul or Busan, I think somebody told me, like my advisor or something, she was like, oh yeah, think of Seoul as like New York and Busan as like Florida. And I've been to both states, but I feel like if you've been to Korea, you know that you can't really compare their size of city with anything in the US. New York maybe, but it's just a different feel, a different vibe. Like there's so many buildings, like sometimes they're not as tall as the high rises in Dallas or New York, but like it's just a different vibe and I love it and you should go. But anyways, yeah, if you ever have the chance to go to Busan and you're like, nah, it's a smaller city, just go, because there are so many things to do, especially the Seomyeon area. I wish I could like put fireworks on the screen and like that, like, yay, like audio track in the back, but I don't know how to do that yet. So hopefully I get better editing soon. And yeah, I think that's it. So go to Busan, go to Seoul. I'll put the pictures of the North Korea pictures at the end of this video. So yeah, if you want to comment and subscribe and like, please, I'm trying to grow this channel. I feel like foreigners traveling to Korea in general is something that's going to be happening a little bit more lately because of their fashion and their industrialization. So like I really want to grow and help y'all out. So just give this video a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button for me and leave a comment below if you have any suggestions for future videos. And yeah, so thanks. Bye guys.